don't want a lot for Christmas. There is just one thing I need. I don't care about the presents underneath the Christmas tree. I just want you for my own. More than you could ever know. Make my wish come true. All I want for Christmas is you.
Would you be the savior of the broken? When I was a young boy, my father took me into the city to see a marching band. He said, son, when you grow up, would you be the savior of the broken, the beaten and the damned? He said, will you defeat them, your demons, and all the non-believers, the plans that they have made? Because one day I'll leave you a phantom to lead you in the summer to join the Black Parade. All I want for Christmas is you. Baby. When I was a young boy, my father took me into the city to see a marching band. He said, son, when you grow up, will you be the savior of the broken?
Well, there's the can crack. That's a shitty can crack for the day. That was the totally copyrighted version of, it's the whole thing's illegal because it's not like MCR teamed up with Mariah Carey. But that is Welcome to the Black Parade mixed with All I Want for Christmas, which makes me happy. I dig it. I dig that song. I dig that mashup. People in the chat are talking about their favorite and their worst Christmas songs. You know which one I like a lot? I like, the older I get, I've always liked the video. And somebody was mentioning Paul McCartney, and whenever you say Paul McCartney now, I don't think of the Beatles. These days I think of Temporary Secretary, which is the worst fucking song ever made. And if it wasn't for this fucking stream, I would have gone to my grave not knowing about that fucking song. But he's got another song called Pipes of Peace. And it's based on, or at least the video is based on World War I trench warfare, when on Christmas Day the soldiers said, let's not fight, and they played soccer. It was like a real event. Great video, great song. Quite exceptional. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Gabbin' in the Games. It is the 12th of December. We are racing towards Xmas, about 2 weeks away. That's exciting. We're going to decorate the tree tonight. We're going to put on, we're watching Wednesday here at home, but we might also watch a little Love Actually, which is probably one of my favorite holiday movies. So, it's good times. I hope you guys are having a good Christmas kickoff to your season. Look at that. Look at that little train in the back with the Buddha going around and round and round. I picked that up at the Rite Aid. And what you can't see, I picked up at the Rite Aid as well, is above it, right in front of the doll face from Twisted Metal poster, you can see that's the Charlie Brown Christmas tree, which they're selling. I guess they've been selling it for a while. I don't know. But I had never seen it before, so I picked that up when I was out yesterday as well. Hey, Brett, good sir, Brett Moore, one of our members, he says, happy holidays, old man. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Brett Moore. Thank you for the super chat. Very generous, very kind, very courteous of you. I don't know, Brett. Let's just kick off the show because you might be related to this next story. Boom. There's a Sacred Symbols logo there. So I was talking to Dustin of Sacred Symbols fame, and he says his team of 6 Call of Duty players, including himself from Last Stand Media, I can never tell what it is, but you know what I'm saying, Sacred Symbols, Colin's thing, are going to compete with the Gavin Games membership. He says we can do it Friday at 6 p.m. California time or Monday at 6 p.m. California time. So if you are one of those people who have said you want to play with me and Spaz and Rob, we need 3 more members. Let me know. In fact, Spaz and Rob let me know as well. What day? Friday at 6 or Monday at 6, so we can kick this off and beat the living tar out of the Sacred Symbols people, because I am probably the best Call of Duty player kind of that's out there, really. I might go pro eventually. Do you know what I saw last night? I'm watching this show that somebody in the chat recommended, The Peripheral. And it's got that Chloe Grace, whatever her name is, who was in Kick-Ass, right? Well, she is in The Peripheral. And apparently, as she's been doing interviews, she's just like, oh, I'm a total hardcore gamer. She's streaming Call of Duty on Twitch. And she's like real hardcore into Call of Duty. So I'm thinking, A, that's my new wife. And B, I want to get her on our team. I'll see what I can do. I can't promise anything. So Rob is saying Friday's good. Brett is saying either day. Okay, so hit me up in the Discord. Let's lock it down. But I'm down with that day as well. All right. Last thing before we get into the news, I want to tell you that Pot and Popcorn, Barbarian may not make the cut because some people were like, well, I didn't vote for that. Christmas Bloody Christmas is happening this weekend, Saturday, Pot and Popcorn. And then there's members are going to vote on what the other movie is as well. So that is coming up this Saturday, members only. If you're a member, meet us in the Discord. We'll tell you how to watch the motion picture show. I think we're going to do it at 4:00 on Saturday is when we're going to start. So, yeah, well, that's the thing. Brett Moore says Barbarian wasn't that good. And then people were kind of like, oh, well, what the hell? I didn't vote for that, blah, blah, blah. And then some people said it's great. So I'm like, fuck it. I'm just going to put up 3 or 4 movies for the members to vote on. And we'll go from there. It's polarizing, the movie Barbarian, says Ravnos. What is her Twitch channel? I don't know. Look it up. I mean, look it up. We got this guy, Dangerous Brian. What is your Twitch channel? Oh, http:///w. I mean, what the fuck do I know? Just fucking go look it up. Jesus Christ. Dangerous Brian, let me ask you a question. How old are you? I have to know. I have to know how old you are. Hey, there's Doug. Doug worked with me. He was a producer and designer on Drawn to Death. Doug Miro. We haven't seen you in here in a while. Doug, how you doing? What are you up to? You're 43 years old. Dangerous Brian, you're 43 years old, and you literally are asking me to look. You're old enough to fucking know the Dewey Decimal System. Get your ass back to school. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. Okay. I did this today. Oh, you're at Riot. Excellent. Are you at Riot in, Doug is at Riot. He in LA, or are you still in San Diego? So, at the Game Awards, Keeley announced this with Genova Chin, a buddy of mine. I like Genova a great deal. I like a lot of his games. This is Sky teamed up with a singer named Aurora. I've never heard of her. And they did like a concert. Now, if you're familiar with, Fortnite, where they had one with Ariana Grande, it's kind of like that. But it is, Aurora, who I didn't know until this concert, is much more sort of, touchy-feely and ethereal. It's just like Enya, if you know who Enya was. It's very woo-woo and all that stuff, but it was great. So I did it today. We had about 4,000 people in there. Ryan Bacon says, I hate game concerts. I did this today, and not only did I discover a singer that I like, I'd never heard of, which is Aurora, but it was, and it wasn't that dissimilar from the Ariana Grande concert as well that I did in Fortnite, because I wanted to explore it and see what it was about. But this really is the beginnings of something, right? I mean, I look at this, and of course, I think PSX should be in the virtual world. I look at this and I think I would love to see AC/DC do something like this, but instead of just, and this is a very Genova Chin thing. If you know Genova, it feels very much like his tone. It's very, let's all love everyone, let's all connect, blah, 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 which is great. And I caught myself catching up in that feeling a little bit this concert, which I liked. But I'd love to do AC/DC or somebody like them. But instead of flying around with all these people, you're like doing a fucking raid with like a total heavy metal album cover boss. And I mean, there's so much you could do with these virtual concerts that I would be happy to pay for it. And I'd be happy if Sony came out and said, we're doing PSX and we're doing it in VR and flat screen, and it'll cost you $20, or it's free. But if you want the premium ticket that gets you demos and this and that, the other, it'll cost you $20. This is going to be a big part of the future. I think this was a good experience. This is still running. It runs every 4 hours until I think January 3rd. So if you have a PlayStation, you can also do it on your phone. And you can also do it, I think it might be on Xbox, I don't know, or PC, but this is available. I recommend it just to kind of get the lay of the land. Got to be honest, as Jaffe, Wayne says, Jaffe, I'd never pay for this. Well, I wouldn't pay for this because I don't know who this is, right? But what I'm saying is, if it was Sony PlayStation doing PSX, which if you don't remember PSX, it was their live show. I think both times they did it was in Vegas, where they gave away a lot of swag, and they had interviews with game creators, and they had debuts, and they had a big keynote. And
That's a huge bitch.
you're goddamn right, Greg Kislowski. Thank you, buddy, for the sub. In that idea of taking that into VR or taking that into metaverse, whatever you want to call it, I think people would pay. I think most people would walk around and go, okay, I get to play games for free that are new demos. I get to attend some of the events. I get to attend the keynote. But, if you want to get exclusive stuff for the games you like, if you want to get exclusive trophies, if you want to play 5 demos that are locked behind the paywall, if you want to have a QA session with Neil Druckmann or whatever and guarantee that you'll get a question answered, that kind of stuff, I absolutely think that they could monetize it, and they should monetize it. Why the fuck not? I mean, unless they said, it's total PR, but whatever. Craig Hooligan says, I'd pay to watch UFC and Quest 2 VR if I can switch camera angles. I have watched wrestling. I don't know where it was. I want to say it was from Brazil, but I have watched like WWE style wrestling in Quest, in Horizons, which is their kind of attempt at a metaverse. And you go up on this balcony and you can, quote, walk your avatar all around the ring. And the ring is a 360 route around the dome video. So you can pretty much go where you want and see whatever angle you want. And it was cool. I mean, it's wrestling, so, your mileage will vary, but I'm a fan of all this stuff. Jaffe, is it possible, says Bacon, this can be incorporated into the porn scene, just like they had beating off in theaters back in the day? Absolutely possible, Bacon Magma. I mean, look, if you've taught us anything, sir, it's anything can be incorporated into the porn scene, but certainly porn in VR, if you haven't tried it, you're missing out. Am I still holding off on the PSVR 2, says Nick? Yeah, I am. I mean, like I said the other day, I got my Quest 2. I love that this fucking thing is... I don't even need my controllers for a lot of the games anymore, or a lot of the experiences anymore. It tracks your fucking hand. I was standing in my living room, had this on, and I was doing the painting program where I'm painting on an easel by a river, and I'm just reaching down and picking up the brushes and all this shit. It was awesome. But I'm going to hold off on PS5 right now. I mean PSVR 2. I'll probably get it. But, I don't know. I got. I mean, people who've played it rave about it, so I'll probably end up with it. Absolutely. Doug, absolutely. I'm around, man. I am absolutely around. That would be fantastic. Now, Forspoken. I played this today. I played about 2 hours of it. I did all of the Forspoken demo, if you didn't know, dropped the other night on the Game Awards. It is now available. I don't know how long it's going to be up there, maybe indefinitely. This game, PlayStation console exclusive, comes out in January. I want to say it is January. And Square Enix dropped the demo, and you can play it now on PS5. So I played it. And it was a really interesting experience for me because I had already gone in knowing a lot of people didn't like it. Like it had a negative stink on it when I went in. But I get it. The frame rate was terrible. You rotate 360 around the main character and it's choppy as fuck. I don't have a problem. Like it's not enough. It wasn't like, for some reason, like Aloy in Horizon Forbidden West. Really, I didn't like her. She fucking annoyed me. This character and her conversation with this bracelet, that's a sentient bracelet, demon, magic, whatever. It's stupid, and it's poorly written. And if I was Square Enix, I would go in there. And this is the Tokyo Game Show build. So this is, it's old, but it's, they're still putting it out there as a representation. If I was Square Enix, I would go in there and I would just be like, okay, we need to tune the knobs down for these characters talking to each other. It's fine. You can live with some of the cringe, crappy dialogue. Some of the dialogue's fine. I don't know if that's Paul Bettany who plays the Vision, but it sounds just like him, who does the voice of the bracelet. But it's just insufferable because it repeats over and over and over and over. And so that's a problem with it. Ultimately, it's a Ubisoft open world game. And I did like the combat. I liked the magic. I liked the fact that this was an interesting new big budget IP that felt a little fresh and different. It's definitely one of those games, I think, that maybe it's a diamond in the rough, maybe it's not, but it's certainly rough. And I think it's going to be one of those games that comes out and absolutely finds fans. I may very well be one of them. I did enjoy the demo, but there is a lot of caveats with it right now. Mecha FM says you can turn off the banter in the settings. Also, it's a smooth 60 if you turn it on performance mode. I guess maybe their default was not performance mode because I didn't even mess with it. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll try that again. Yeah, Jake Z says you like constantly switching magic abilities on the bumpers. So what you do is you've got like attack on R2 and L2. And for some reason, they're using haptics on melee attacks, which feels not good. That feels really fucking annoying, okay? And then you can change on the fly whatever using sort of a ratchet-style weapon wheel, whatever two types of magic you want to have at any given time. And I did enjoy that. I mean, I thought it was pretty good. I understand that a lot of people would be like, oh my God, it's not like Elden Ring where you get your kit and you're just like, this is 80% of what I'm going to have and I'm not going to fuck with it when I'm going into a battle. This is designed to be, you're swapping and switching magic attacks all the time and upgrading them and finding new ones and all that stuff. Jon Snow says the full game will have 4 schools of magic. Yeah, I don't know how many it'll have, but right now the demo shipped with 2 magic types. One was kind of like nature magic and the other was fire magic. And I don't know what the other 2, but within each of those magic schools, there are numerous spells and upgrade spells. I was surprised that I enjoyed it as much as I did. It absolutely has problems. It's going out into a world where there are much better games that do a lot of what it already does a hell of a lot better. So I don't know how this is going to end up selling, but I was pleasantly surprised. And it's free. Download it. Give it a shot. Dennis Lamov says, hey, Jaffe, thanks again for the Elden Ring purchase for me. Game of the year for me. Lots of variations, lots of gears, lots of fun. My favorite game of the year as well. Although I have to say, good Sir Dennis, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer, I still think it's going to go to Elden Ring for me, but it's getting really, really, really close because I've never been addicted to a game like this one. It's been ages, if ever, that I've been addicted to a game like Modern Warfare 2. Eddie Torres says there's a menu to paint your nails. Yeah, there is. I know that sounds silly, but in the Forspoken demo, one of the things I do like about it, is it, even though it may not be the absolute best game out there, and it may end up being a buggy mess, who the fuck knows, but I like it's a big budget new IP with new lore and new backstory and like, what is this world about? And for example, like I think it was Eddie was saying, you literally can zoom into her hands and paint her nails. And as you paint her nails, you can unlock different designs. It's just a cosmetic thing in terms of how it's presented, but that gives her passives on the battlefield. So you can paint her nails and find a design that allows her to take less damage and charge up magic faster or anything like that. So there's something cool about it, but it's certainly not going to be for everyone. I saw this today. Square actually was kind of walking it back a little bit because this demo did get mixed response, right? There's an article right now on Games Radar where they're basically checking Reddit, where there's a lot of debate back and forth about, is this crap or is this not crap? And one guy on Reddit, this is the article talking, he says, it's the best demo I've played. Every once in a while, I think we all feel something is tailor-made for us. And that's how I feel about Forspoken. After playing with the demo for 3+ hours, I can't describe how in love I am with this game. But then right after, another Reddit user says, I'm really glad they released a demo. So they knew to hold off buying Forspoken at launch. Everything just feels bad. Unintuitive controls, blurry visual, inconsistent performance, and saying the combat is clunky, slow, and it's just not fun. There you go. Your mileage is going to vary on this one. Unlikely it's going to be a buggy mess, says Jorge. Square Enix has a great QA team. Yeah, you could be right. When I say it could be a buggy mess, I'm just kind of saying who knows what the final product is going to be. It could be shit. It could be brilliant. But I have a feeling not everyone's going to love it. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it after the demo. And in fact, if I have time, and I may not, probably won't, but I am jonesing to go back into that open world because there's a lot more you can do in the demo than just sort of her 5 main quests. But Square came out today, and they were sort of apologizing for this. They said, amid fan feedback, again, back to Games Radar, Square Enix says Forspoken demos, side quests, and tutorials are not reflective of the final game. At which point I would say, well, why'd you fucking put it out, you fucking morons? Square Enix consistently just makes the biggest boneheaded decisions, and then at an executive level, and then they go, it didn't meet expectations. Gee, I fucking wonder why. Here's what the creative director said. Ryu Mitsuno, I think is how you say his name. He was talking to Jamatsu. He says the demo side quests were specifically constructed for the demo. He says this was for Tokyo Game Show. That's what people got from the Game Awards, the exact same demos. So that was specifically, he says, the kind of fetch quest item in terms of makeup. Like
fighting, you're an up-and-coming boxer.
Like, go do these 5 objective quests and then you get to fight a boss. I don't think I fought a boss in this game, unless it was that woman on the bridge. The full game isn't actually designed like that. This was just specifically created for our demo experience. And I'm like, really? Well, why'd you fucking put it out then? If this isn't representative of your game and your game comes out in basically a month, then you're an idiot. I don't understand. Because this turned off a lot of people. There's a lot of people now I'm seeing online going, yeah, I'm not buying it now. I played the demo. I'm good. Nuts on Chin. Thank you for the super chat, buddy. He says, and that's why game dev should not release demos. I would, that statement doesn't work. Because it's inconsistent. God of War was a much bigger hit than it ever would have been, the very first one, because we released a demo. But you're absolutely right. If you don't feel your demo is going to knock people's socks off, you shouldn't release it. I absolutely agree with that, because it's more often than not people will say no thank you. But, you know, with game trials, hopefully that'll kind of come in. I love you, Supergirl. Sometimes you commit to the bit, and other times you start the bit, and then you're like, I don't want to commit to it. That was one of those times. Like, I could have gone big. It doesn't matter. But the point is, I think it's really weird that they released a demo at all, given that it clearly, I don't think they have been surprised that it's gotten mixed reviews. If they have, they should have done a playtest first. But then that they're publicly walking it back, a little weird. I was a little weird. Square Enix is pretty massive, says RPG. In my circle, Square is killing it big time in terms of releasing non-buggy games and stuff. Yeah. But I don't know. I enjoyed it. Sweet Tooth didn't. He says, I played Forspoken for a few hours, didn't like it much. Control and gameplay are clunky. There's no doubt. There is no doubt. All the criticisms about this game so far are accurate. I'm not defending it for those criticisms. But even with those things, in spite of those things, I still really enjoyed it. Look at Babylon Fall, says Brandon Myers. Square Enix published it. It was garbage. And even Platinum Games made it, which was surprising. Yeah, there's something really off about management, from everything from, like, you know, selling to Embracer for like bottom of the barrel, getting rid of all their Western studios, but then turning around and continuing to try to make Western appealing games. Maybe this is one of their last ones, and they're not landing all that well. I mean, even with this lady talking to the AI, the main character talking to the NPC in the game, and she doesn't shut up. Who over at Square is tuning that knob and going, oh yeah, no, more. I want to hear more. Like, it's almost like maybe they think the game is better than it is, or they think more people like it than they really do. And they're like, no, people love her. People fucking love her. It's like, no, she's fine. I can live with her, but it's too much. It's too much. We got a super chat coming in from Wooden's Throne. I don't know if he's talking about John Wooden, but regardless, Wooden's Throne drops ducats. I appreciate it, buddy. He says, Forspoken reminds me of a Ubisoft open world game. Me too. Box ticking objectives. Yep. Go to different areas to unlock chunks of a map and many other things. I'll be skipping it. Everything that Wooden's Throne just wrote is 100% correct in the way I feel about it too, other than the fact that I don't think I'll be skipping it depending on if there's a sale or whatever, because there's enough that I like about it, specifically the combat, and I think the world seems interesting right now. Like, what is this about? What is this story? We haven't really in video games gotten a lot of people from our world warp into a fantasy world. Movies do that all the time. Comics do it. Shows do it. But I can't remember the last game, if there even has been one, other than, like, you know, Toon. There was like a Toon game with Christopher Lloyd back in the day that is about, hey, somebody from our world gets sucked into this other world. And shit goes back, you know, batshit crazy, but she's still referencing life on Earth. I think that's kind of cool. But no, what Wooden's Throne just wrote, absolutely. It is total Ubisoft checklist, especially after playing Elden Ring and going back to this. You're like, oh, God, there's these little dots all over the map and shit, you know. But I'm still in. I'm still in. Danny Mac says, Jeffy, I love you. I love you right back, Danny Mac. Danny Mac and I are going on a date, and we're going to go to the Suck Cop, and we're going to go to the diner and listen to Apex Predator says, Jeffy, even if Square Enix doesn't sell on Xbox, they need to sell on Xbox, and Xbox fans don't buy their games because they don't consistently sell their games on Xbox. Sir, do you get paid every time you write the word Xbox? I have no idea what that says. I have no idea what I just read. I'm so sorry. But thank you for hanging out with us. I appreciate it, buddy. Okay, let's move forward. Let's move forward instead of backwards for once, shall we? It's about time. Listen to this. I got a lot of shit from people on this very stream because I did a stream a couple of weeks ago going, oh my God, God of War Ragnarok has dropped more than the expected and what is healthy in its second week. And people were like, why are you hating on God of War? And I'm like, I'm not hating on it. I'm curious about this. What does it mean? Does it mean that it was front loaded? Does it mean that word of mouth actually hurt the game? Does it mean that people thought it was too hard? Is it that the digital market has exploded and more than we thought it had, and most people bought it on digital, which is why we have less numbers than the 2018 second week drop off, right? I didn't bring it up to shit on it. I brought it up because I was curious. Well, lo and behold, we have a follow-up to that story. At least because that was in the UK. That was UK Boxed. Well, it's the end of the month, and we get their full month of digital, and we get their full month of retail together. So now we get a little bit more data on those numbers. So here's what we know. We know that the official best-selling game of November in the UK was God of War Ragnarok. Here we go. It was a huge launch for the PS5 and PS4. For its first 3 weeks on sale, the game sold 62% more units than 2018's God of War. So think about that. Think about that for a moment, right? So it turns out, my guess would be those numbers are so good and so strong because people love the game, has great word of mouth, but more of them were buying it on digital. And that's why you saw like a 74% drop in the second week at retail. It wasn't any of the other things we were wondering about. So again, these things are interesting to me as a student of the industry, as a one-time participant in the industry. I like knowing why things sell and why they don't, and on and on and on. So there you go. Listen to this. 69% of the sales went to PS5. So 30% of the sales were PS4, 70% basically were PS5 Ragnaroks, which will tell you maybe all you need to know about enough people getting a PS5 that maybe cross-gen is on the way out. Although I heard everything Sony's putting out in 2023 is going to be cross-gen, but I don't know if that's true. I just saw like a headline. Okay. Master Luke, one of my favorite artists who has made some wonderful things for this show. You can actually see his art up on that frame right now. Can I draw you, not right now, that's Rotten Tanuki, but can I draw you a request for Christmas? Thank you for the super chat, sir. Fuck yeah, you can draw me. You goddamn right. You're telling me I reach out to you and say, hey, would you draw me this? And you'll draw it. If I'm reading that right, you goddamn right. I would love that. I would love that. Absolutely. Nikki T swoops in, dropping a super chat. He doesn't say much. He just kind of gives me some ducats, and I appreciate that, buddy. The holidays are coming up, and I got to buy a monkey or something. Ooh, I wonder if, speaking of buying monkeys, I wonder if The Fablemans is out. I really want to see that movie. Oh, no. He did say something. I'll get to that in a minute. I want to see The Fablemans, which I know is out this week, but I don't know if it's out tonight or tomorrow. Wayne says, people are mad that you said the game sales dropped. Yes, seems like corporate slavery. I know, they're so stupid. Okay, so here's what Nick T said. I feel like you're missing out on part of gaming without an OLED with HDR and 120 hertz. Now it's even $5 cheaper. Merry Christmas, buddy. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. It is absolutely, for whatever it's worth, not a money issue. It is an issue about, there's so many options that I'm kind of overwhelmed. If I go to Amazon, even if in this chat right here, and I say, hey man, I want to, okay, you're right, Nick T. I want to jump off the deep end, get a good monitor to play games on. I'll probably have 7 different people in the chat telling me 7 different things of what I should buy. And it's not that I don't appreciate that. It's just that it's overwhelming, the amount of the fire hose of data that comes at you when you put something out like, hey, I'm interested in this. That's why I've put off buying it. But you're not wrong. I need to get on it. I want to get on it. Okay. In fact, here we go. No, LG OLED isn't complicated. LG C1 is all you need. Okay, I'll look into it. Yes, please. Jason wants to know, can you draw me like one of the French girls? You got it, buddy. You got it. The main Bane.
Great fighting. You're an up-and-coming
The main Bane. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate the super chat. He says, Jeffy, where did you get the LED Christmas set with the train behind you? I need it. I picked it up at Rite Aid last night. I am a Rite Aid shopper, or I have a member card, or I don't fucking know. But they say, hey, enter your phone number whenever I shop there. So that means something. Anyway, point being is it's usually $70, but if you're a Rite Aid member, they took 60 something off. It was like $24. I couldn't resist. And then my kids started putting candy on it, and I started putting Buddha on it, and it's good people. So I highly recommend it. And what's great about it is you can turn off the fucking music, because I didn't want to fucking deal with that shit. Thank you for the super chat, buddy. All right. Here's some more data from the UK. Modern Warfare 2 is already bigger. It's only been out for a month, and it is already bigger than the entirety of Call of Duty Vanguard sales. That is how great this game is selling, which makes me happy. Like I said, I'm so surprised. I thought my days of Call of Duty, I never even had days of Call of Duty for them to be over. I was just never thought I would become a Call of Duty fan like this, but it's so much fun. I'm having such a great time with it. But anyway, okay, here's the top. We'll move on after this. We're not going to talk much about sales today. But number 13 in the UK, this is digital, and this is retail. Horizon is 13. Last of Us Part 2 is 12. Switch Sports is 11. The number 10 game roaring out in November is Football Manager 2023. Look at that. Look at this. 9, Red Dead Redemption 2. 8, Mario Kart Deluxe. 7, Grand Theft Auto 5. Will it ever stop? 5, Pokemon Scarlet. 4, Pokemon Violet. Number 3.
Fighting, you're an up-and-coming boxer.
Number 3, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Number 2, FIFA 23, which isn't selling this year as good as it did last year. And finally, God of War Ragnarok sitting on the top, at the very tippity top of the food chain. So we'll see what happens next month. Exciting, interested. Wolfblood says, I'm pissed they removed third-person Warzone. I know third person is in Call of Duty, but are you saying they took it out of Warzone? Sweet 2 says, Modern Warfare 2 is so much fun. Amazing gunplay. Love the shoot house map. I don't love that map, but I agree with you about the shooting. It's just fucking great. Bender of Strings. Oh my God. He says, if you remember Ector Drugs, I fucking do. Hey, check it out. We got Brandon Myers. Been a member for 13 months. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that generosity and support of this here show. He says, I was going to recommend a LG C1 too, but it's a TV, not a monitor, but I have one and it's amazing. Okay. I guess everyone's into the LG, so at least I know that's the brand I'm going to get. Master Luke chimes back in. Thank you, buddy. He says, I could also draw something for your kids. Whatever you want, it's your gift. Oh, thanks, man. Okay, I will hit you up. I probably won't have my kids have anything, but I want to fuck them. I want something fun for the back wall. I think that would be really, really cool. So let me think on it for the next day or two, and I'll hit you back. That's very generous. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Merry Christmas back to you as well. Okay, we're gonna move on and talk about Microsoft in just a second, but I want to get this wonderfully generous super chat. It is from Cardo. I have never seen that currency before, sir. What is NOK? Is it Hong Kong? What is NOK? Netherlands? I don't know. It doesn't matter. He's a generous fella. He says, Jaffe, would love to see a playthrough of God of War 1 on your live stream. Big fan of your work on the game, and I'm still playing it to this day. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. All of us made that game. A lot of us made that game, and I sure do appreciate it that you enjoyed what we made. I will be doing a live stream of God of War down the road. It's just not anything that's right in the immediate future. I'm trying to get a couple other events off the schedule first, but thank you, sir. That's not North Korean money. It's not. No one from North Korea would be allowed to watch this stream. It's Norwegian, says Cardo. There you go. Well, thank you for watching all the way from Norway. Stonerface says it's Norwegian Korean. There you go. Okay. Let's move on. Microsoft, you guys saw this. At this point, Microsoft just needs to go over to Phil Spencer needs to go over to Jimmy Ryan's house and go, look, do you need me to blow you? Do you want me to hire a sexy model, man, woman, whatever you're into? Because today they even said, that 10-year deal that they said, hey, Sony, look, man, we just want to get the deal done. We know you want Call of Duty. We'll give it to you for 10 years, baby. We will never put it on any other system unless it comes on the same day, the same title, the same parity of what we have on Xbox, you get it on PlayStation for at least 10 years. Come on. And then today, it turns out that they not only said that, but the deal also includes Sony's freedom in the contract that if they want, they can put it on PlayStation Plus. Now, for me, I look at it and I say, the reason this deal means, there's a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons this deal and specifically Call of Duty means so much is it's going to go into Game Pass. And I assume that that was always Sony's problem, which is the minute it goes on Game Pass, everyone's going to get it over there. But now that Xbox is coming out and saying, no, you can put it on PS Plus as well, and you can use that to drive your subscriptions and this, that, and the other, they haven't responded yet. But it is weird. It's like, Jesus, man. I mean, at this point, the only thing related to Call of Duty Jimmy Ryan could be upset about is like, we have 10 years, but we don't think we'll be able to make a Call of Duty killer that we can make exclusive in that time. So I don't fucking know. I don't fucking know. Salvador says Jaffe wants Game Pass to get Activision. I do. I do. I think it would be great for gamers and more importantly, great for the medium. It doesn't matter. Jeeves says they keep making more concessions to make their intentions look noble. Who do you... No one is noble. It's his business. They're spending 70 billion ducats. Phil Spencer's not going around going, I just want to look good. This is the upper echelon of business. Well, not the upper echelon of business, but there are much bigger deals than this. But in terms of an entertainment, it don't get much bigger than this deal. This is not Xbox trying to be noble. This is Xbox going, look, I will keep bending over backwards, Sony, because we want the FTC to approve this. Okay. Sony says Dalakov, the 30% out of each sale, not game day one on PS Plus. They're still able to sell it. It'll still be available to sell copies of it. They're not saying that. Somebody was saying, I haven't seen Colin's show. Somebody said Colin over at Sacred Symbols made some good points about the Activision deal. I haven't seen it. Can you elaborate? Like what two or three points that he brought up that you were like, oh, cool. Okay. Mo says, yeah, pay $500 million to put it on PS Plus. They didn't say, they haven't floated how much they're charging. Maybe it's nothing. I mean, I don't believe that, but, right. I agree with Salmon. Salmon says some of y'all may not like Jim Ryan and Jim Ryan has flaws, but he's working mighty hard to make sure PlayStation fan base gets the best games and deals. Right. Nothing Jim Ryan is doing. Anybody who employs him or works for Sony, they should be mad about. But I don't have an allegiance to Sony or Microsoft. I have an allegiance to games, and I want it to go through because I think it will be better for the medium. But yeah, let me know what Colin said. I'm more than happy to, I'd love to hear his take on it. Absolutely. Ryan Bacon says driving Sony subscription is a massive deal for PlayStation Plus. They have lost some subs in recent times. This would help. Sure. Microsoft can acquire, says Cyclone, so many studios they want, but it probably won't fix the fact that games, they end up canceling way too many games. Well, yeah, we can get into that when we get to IGN in just a second. The one thing I want to say, though, about this was interesting. So as you guys know, the FTC came in, I think it was Friday or Thursday, and said, it was the day of the Game Awards, whenever that was, Thursday or Friday. They came in and they said, we're going to file a complaint against this Xbox Activision acquisition because, and they gave reasons. And one of the reasons they gave, and most people who I talked to that day, and I talked to I always get his name wrong, Hoglaw or whatever. I listened to some things Pachter said. Most people who I listened to on that day were like, this is political. This is not, they don't have a case. The FTC, what they're saying is not going to hold up if Microsoft chooses to move forward, either with FTC kind of arbitration or they actually end up in an actual courtroom. But one of the things they said was this, and it was really interesting to see the European Union that have their own issues with the deal. But the FTC's lawsuit got pushed back. This is on Game Developer from they got pushed back from the European Commission. They argued against the FTC's notion that Microsoft has been dishonest in making Starfield and Redfall into Xbox exclusives. The U.S. organization used...
Fighting. You're an up-and-coming boxer.
So Xbox used the Bethesda upcoming pair of titles as an example of what the Xbox maker could do with Activision's games, which is make them exclusive. They said that Microsoft has already shown it can and will withhold content from gaming rivals. But let's keep going. Its words, meaning the company, the European Commission, they say its words stop just short of saying the U.S. regulatory board is lying about its claims. And then it goes on to explain that they never said that they were going to make those non-exclusive. They never, ever fucking said that. They never made any commitments to EU regulators, they said. It's just a flat out lie. And it's amazing. I mean, it really is kind of amazing to me that this narrative is being allowed to take hold. And maybe the people at the FTC know it's bullshit, but they're like, it's political. It'll look good for us if we step in and shut this thing down. I don't know. But they're claiming that they're also saying the fact of the matter is both games already had communities the moment they were announced. Starfield makes Bethesda Game Studios' first new property in decades, and Redfall hails from Arcane, makers of cult classics. The writer of this article says, so the FTC's claims may lack merit, but Microsoft's justification for Starfield and Redfield not coming to PlayStation appears equally baseless. Fuck you. When did this happen? When did this happen? That Microsoft owes anybody their games. The fact that Microsoft needs to justify having Starfield and Redfield being exclusive to their platforms is ridiculous. They own the companies that make them. If you don't like it, don't play on Xbox. Maybe they'll go out of business. But what is this obsession with don't hurt Sony? Why? Why? Show me where they misled through interviews. I'll answer that question in a second, Lando. Let me get the super chat real quick. Hang on one second. This is from our good friend Maxwell, I believe. Yes. Maxwell says, and thank you for the super chat, buddy. He says, Big Rumor says that if the deal goes through, Sony might pull the trigger on getting both Square and Capcom as a response. Great. Since they already had talks with them. Fantastic. I have no problem with that. They should. They should. Eddie Torres says, what if the FCC sues? The FTC or the FCC? The FCC, that's always weird because the FCC is, you'd think would have their fingers in this pie a little bit, but it's the FTC that's filed the complaint. And they have filed the complaint. We'll see what happens. But most people who I've listened to don't seem to think it's not going to go through. Bill Bone says Xbox wants to buy an entire industry through a subscription model that will turn the tide in the war between Sony and Xbox, one of which has enough money to wait till subservices become mainstream. Great. Sony may get the shit kicked out of them and may have to leave the business. They may have to become a third-party publisher if they want to stay in. So what? If we are saying, and you guys know I'm not one of these pro-unregulated capitalism guys, but if we're saying we are tired of big companies and we want to en masse start passing laws and start breaking up all these big companies, great. Then there's a shift in the way Americans, at least in this case, because Activision is an American company, a shift in the way Americans view things. And this is just a response. A lot of you guys pushing back for Sony to that. And I would say, cool, if we're gonna, take capitalism down, especially unregulated capitalism down a couple of pegs, I'm all there for it. But until that starts happening, this is just another fucking big deal. What's the problem? I don't understand what the problem is. Okay, Sir Fried Goat, and this will kind of answer Lando's question as well. He says, I can't for the life of me I love that expression. Get one good answer on how these acquisitions are good for gamers at all. How about compete by releasing better content, not bolstering your library by buying huge publishers? Okay, I will tell you how, one way, it's good for gamers. And in the meantime, if anybody has a link, Ravno says Microsoft said in interviews that they were going to not make those titles exclusive. Please, I remember them saying it will be a case-by-case basis. But if you can show me a link, I'll walk back what I just said and admit that I got it wrong. Not a problem. But I'm pretty sure I didn't, because I'm pretty sure the European Union is not going to release a statement pretty much calling the FTC liars without having done some fact checking. But let me know if you got a link. But anyway, here's the reason I'm pro this deal and pro the acquisitions. Specifically as it relates to Microsoft, and even with Capcom, somebody was saying Capcom, Konami, whatever, I very much believe in the art form of video games. And that is the big budget art form, and that is the small little things, everything from Pentiment to one-man band games like Vampire Survivors, okay? Subscription services, even if you look at the quote from the director designer of Pentiment. He's like, we could have never made this if it wasn't for a service like Game Pass. Vampire Survivors, I've owned on Steam for 6 months or however long it was out. Nobody was talking about it. Nobody cared about it until it came to Game Pass. And suddenly everybody got a shot to try it, right? What the subscription services do, and the more appealing they are, brings more customers to them. And as they have more customers, the companies that fund these games, specifically the companies that own the subscription services, are motivated to keep people from churning out, which means they need original content, they need content people like, and they need a lot of it. So if you're saying that Microsoft is suddenly going to have some of the biggest games on the planet on GameSpot or Game Pass, and that is going to increase their revenue and their subscription number, which means they are going to make more games. A meaningful percentage of those are going to be original and weird and quirky and different, or maybe not even quirky, but just like, hey, the team had a great idea for a 2-hour Master Chief adventure. It's got we're not going to sell it. It's going to be on Game Pass day one. It's really fucking cool. It's like Hive Busters, but better. I love that for the industry, because so up until now, the game as an art form has been mostly held back by an archaic business model that says games need to be a certain length to justify a very hefty price point. And in that, games are way longer than they need to be. Not all, but a lot of them. And they're padded and they're paced poorly. So for me as a designer and someone who loves the medium, that is why I'm a big fan of these acquisitions that bolster up the subscription. And I want to see Sony do it too. I'm hoping they'll compete. We'll see. Ravno, send me a link. Coco Fangrok says Hogue amended it. Well, we weren't talking about this. I asked Hogue directly. I said, the lawyer, I said, if this gets in front of a judge, what I'm reading, I don't, as a layperson, I said, I don't see anything here. You're a fucking lawyer. Am I wrong on this? Is a judge going to go, no, Jaffe, you don't understand the depth of this. There's a lot of things the FTC is saying that really are crucial that would get this thing shut down. He says, no, you're right. If this went in front of a judge that was not biased and just going with the facts, he'd go, you want to stop this acquisition because you don't want Sony to get hurt. So he didn't amend that, but we didn't talk about this part. Hey, Salvador, thank you for being a member for 11 months. I appreciate it, buddy. He says, Microsoft never said any commitment, but they leave it in a gray area. I don't know if they led it in a gray area and told a white lie, Salvador. They literally, what I saw was, we are going to take it on a case-by-case basis. Mo says, Jaffe, that's not true. Where did it go? Hang on, Mo. I may have, here it is. I want to go back because Mo is calling me out, and I don't take kindly, after what Mo's family did. Come on now. Those guys are knuckleheads. He says, Jaffe, that's not true. The Europeans didn't say they had guarantees. I'm reading it to you right now. But Microsoft mentioned they don't expect to go exclusive, and then they did. No, they didn't. Microsoft said when they acquired Bethesda, we are taking each game on a case-by-case basis. And they may have also said, by the way, they may have said that Bethesda is not going to become an exclusive software creator, which doesn't mean that Bethesda isn't going to make exclusives. It means that everything they put out is not going to be exclusive. But to say that the Europeans didn't say they had no guarantees, it literally says, the UA has argued neither Starfield, EU, or Redfield can be used as examples of withholding content, as Microsoft has frequently indicated both titles would be Xbox exclusive. Microsoft, this is a quote, didn't make any commitments to EU regulators not to release the Xbox exclusive content. I mean, they're saying it. Whether or not it's true or not, I don't know. But they're saying it. So, okay. There's too much. I'm not going to get to all the chat. If you really want to get your point heard and you don't want to do a super chat, call me in Discord. I'll put you on at the end of the show. Okay. Let's move on though. But again, I hope Lando and the other guy that I have answered your questions, I think it was Salvador, as to why I want this deal to go through. Because I think it's good for the art form. Just like I think subscription services have been good for movies and television. It's not, Lando says it's not about Sony getting hurt. It's about corporate monopolization. Okay, if it is, then Sony should prove it. But that's why I asked the lawyer and I said, Microsoft is in third place. Sony already has a subscription service that has more subscribers than Game Pass. The Call of Duty is also on PC. Sony has exclusive titles. Why is this acquisition suddenly corporate monopolization? I'm sorry, but I'm not saying you should champion the deal. I'm not saying you should like the deal. But I challenge you to use the legal definition of a monopoly in American law and show me how Xbox is in danger of stepping over that line. You're not talking about TikTok buying Instagram and suddenly those are the two biggest social media companies in the world and suddenly the nearest competition is like miles behind them. These guys are in third place. And there are still options to play all these other games. Microsoft is saying, we'll put them on every platform if you want. Who gives a shit? I'm tired of this argument. I'm going to move on, but I want to address this. I'm tired of this fucking argument. We got DX Pone. Sony has never bought a publisher, let alone two. This is such a, no offense, sir. I love you to death and I want to go make a baby with you, but listen to me. This is such a dumb argument. Because it is such a PR driven, it's like, guys, when you come to this show, okay, I worked in the business for 20 fucking years plus. I am not some fanboy that believes the PR that is diarrheaed, I know I made that verb up, out of these companies every day. I'm not saying they're always lying, of course not. But everything they say is designed to get you to spend money on them. Either in the long term because they want to build a loyalty or in the short term because they want to sell a game tonight, okay? The idea that Sony is somehow more noble because they didn't buy a lot of studios, although they did buy Bungie and they did buy, Insomniac, and they did buy Jade Raymond's company and on and on and on. But let's pretend we're still in Fantasyland where they don't buy publishers because Bungie is a publisher. But regardless, let's pretend it's not. Let's pretend that they've never acquired anything. They did it the old-fashioned way. No, they didn't. They made the games, but how do you think they funded or how do you think they made great games? They paid a shit ton of money to hire individuals. Now, if that in your mind is more noble, that's fine. But stealing a great programmer away from Valve, stealing an amazing concept artist away from EA, paying Eidos or Square to have an exclusive to Tomb Raider, those are still them using the money they have to win and to dominate. Microsoft is doing the same thing. I'm sorry they have more money. I'm sorry they've been more successful in their other endeavors that allow them to float this crazy idea of Phil Spencer's. That must really suck if you really have a dog in the fight, which I don't know why you would unless you have stock in the companies. But Sony uses what it can to compete, just like Microsoft. It's a ridiculous concept that you guys buy this PR when Shuhei comes out and it's like, we like to buy companies that we've built a relationship. You're just parroting back PR. Do you realize that? Do you realize that all you're doing, I see it all the time on this chat, all you're doing is regurgitating to me the shit that PR sat in a conference room, and trust me, I know because I've sat in those conference rooms with them, and said, what is our messaging? How do we spin this? How do we make this land the way we want it to land? And lo and behold, people come to the internet and went, no, see, Sony forms relationships with the developers they buy. Mike, come on, man. Come on, man. It's not, you're not a baby. Maybe. I'm 5. Anyway. Okay. Fuck you, Carlos. Carlos, well, here's what happens. Carlos drops a super chat, says, this is boring. Move to the next story. Fuck you, Carlos. I'll do what I want to do. And then Dream Corridor says, Carlos is boring. Coco Fan says, you'd be fine with Microsoft buying Ubisoft, EA, and Take-Two as well. Sure. I mean, you know, so what? These are companies. They're not people. They can't buy slaves. People can compete. What I'm saying, DX Pones, is there is absolutely a definition of monopoly. And as a very progressive lefty, I'm not a fan of monopolies. I don't like them. But you're not defining or describing something that is a monopoly. You're just defining or describing a company that's playing very hard, expensive football. That's it. If you were basically saying that Microsoft bought the company that makes chips for 90% of video game consoles, and they are going to squeeze the competition and make them pay 25% more than anyone else, that's a monopoly, right? That is a monopoly. Okay, that's different. Ravno says Jaffrey conglomeration is not monopoly, but it is gross. It can be, unless it works in my favor as a customer. And in this case, I think it's better for the industry because I've explained it. Why? Okay, let's move on. Because, you know, Carlos is not having it. Gravity, thank you for the super chat.
Great fighting. You're an up-and-coming boxer.
Gravity says, stop, Jeff. You're going to make him cry. I guess so. Yeah, Player says Microsoft plus Activision is less than 20% of the distribution market. Yep. Okay. That's a good point too. Mark Arnold says, he deleted it, but he says, Mark Arnold was mentioning that, not that it makes it any less or not less legal, but Activision agreed to be acquired. Bobby Kotick sent a letter to his staff or to the business yesterday. Obviously, it took a little while because he was sending it from the depths of hell where he lives. But he sent it to the staff and said, hey, don't worry about the FTC thing. I think this is still going to go through. This is just posturing. It's politics, whatever. Mo, thank you, buddy, for being a member for a year. I appreciate that. Mo, he says, if Microsoft buys all the publishers and Booty and Phil are running, gaming will regress dramatically. It might. But, you know, that's the free market. What do you want? You guys know, look, I voted for Bernie Sanders. If we want to overthrow the capitalist regime and start treating people fairly, I'm there with you. But this is currently this is the world in which we live that a lot of people seem to vote for time after time after time. So what do you want from me? I'm saying, hey, this is the game. This is the hand we've been dealt. You don't have to, you know. Okay. Let's move forward. You're going to think I'm picking on Sony, but I'll pick on Xbox in just a second. Trust me, I'm going to pick on Xbox in just a second. No one's the little guy. Nighthawk says Xbox is not the little guy. No one's the little guy. This is not an emotional battle for them. They are doing business. They are doing business. If they can afford to play in this level, they can afford to. If they can't, they can't. Let's move on, though. This is the only... Well, no, I'm about to say I'm picking on Sony because people will tell me I'm picking on Sony. Wayne says, why is this picking on Sony? It's not. But people, not all people, of course, but some people as they are in this chat will go, Jeff, you're always so negative on fucking Sony. And I'm not. I'm sitting here telling you I'm going to buy Forspoken probably, which is a Sony console exclusive, while a lot of you guys are saying, oh, it's crap, I'm not buying it. I got no issues with Sony. I'm playing Call of Duty on Sony because I love their controller more than any other controller on the market. I did a story today on God of War doing, I forget what the number was, but it was a meaningfully percentage higher in its first month than God of War 2018. Because I was like, okay, I wanted to figure out why it had dropped week 2, and we figured it out, and I brought that up. I'm not against Sony. Fuck you, Pawns, you fuck. Pawns, you fucker. Mike, and that's it. I'm going to move on to the story, but I want to get Mike's super chat, which I appreciate, buddy. Thank you so much. This is from Mike H92 of the, I think that's the Mobile, Alabama, Mike H92. Thanks, sir. He says, in theory,
you're an up-and-coming boxer.
In theory, Microsoft could just buy all the major publishers and put PlayStation out of business. Do you agree or disagree with that, Jaffe? I don't agree with that, no. Because ultimately, I mean, would that put PlayStation out of business? I don't know, maybe. But it wouldn't put Apple out of business. It wouldn't put Nintendo out of business. And frankly, it probably wouldn't put Sony out of business. It would hurt them. They would lose money. But they would also go, okay, we can't play in this league with these rules. So we're going to have to figure out a way, like Nintendo has, to go, we're going to compete in a different way. That's competition. It's what you want. Anyway, I'm moving on. Okay. Listen. Oh, I wish Salvador. Salvador says free on Game Pass is really free for Jaffe because Phil covers the $5 per month. It's not $5 per month. I happily pay $15 every month for Game Pass Ultimate, and I will pay it even if it increases because it's a great fucking deal and I love it. We're going to talk about some games coming to Game Pass soon. I'll explain to you why I think that is. Now listen, Dream Corridor comes in. He says, listen, I just took a shit on the floor and I dug through the shit, and in the shit there was a $5 bill, and I'm giving it to you, Jaffe. Thanks, Dream Corridor. He says, hey, didn't you once say that gaming would be better if there was only one console? Absolutely. But people don't understand what I'm saying.
Great fighting. You're an up-and-coming boxer.
That is the reason that I am a fan, Dream Corridor, of eventually when the technology gets there, not the technology of streaming, but the server farms get closer and whatever. I don't want consoles to exist anymore. I think it's an archaic, dumb idea that hurts the art form. If I tell you, Dream Corridor, dude, I saw this great show called The Peripheral. Somebody on this chat recommended it. I watched it. It's amazing. You're not going to come back at me and go, oh, dude, I don't have I don't have a Samsung TV, so I can't watch it, right? You're going to go, okay, I can't afford a new subscription service, but there's like 3 other things I want to see on Amazon this month. Let me cancel Netflix for a month. Let me go to Amazon for a month, right? That's what I want. I want the content to be what moves people around. I want the content to compete. Right now, you've got this arbitrary thing that exists just because that's the way business has been done since the beginning of the industry, which is the console. And it really doesn't ultimately eventually need to be there. And once you throw that out, it's the content that competes. That's why I care for these things. That's why I care for these things. Okay. I do want to move on. Last thing I think I'm going to talk about Sony today, but I found this story annoying. I need these systems to exist, says AJC. I don't want to think about what needs to be upgraded. I'm not saying go get a PC. I'm saying that eventually it will be streaming into your TV. I like collecting my console, says Legends. I know. I'm not poo-pooing that. I'm just saying that, you know, a lot of people also like when America made cars that were really sexy looking and really nice design. But then ultimately we said, okay, well, it's cheaper to do it this way and people show up and buy it. So it doesn't mean your love of consoles is misplaced. It just means that you're a dinosaur when it comes to what the market is eventually going to do. Dream Quarter says, thank you for the super chat again, buddy. He says, that's an odd belief considering your marquee games were all console exclusive to one console manufacturer publisher. Just because that's how I made my hit games, I played the hand I was dealt again. I worked in the business when it came to, that was the way games and business got done. But you know, so what? I mean, my view is separated from my own personal experience when it comes to how I made games. I'm speaking as a player. What do I know about the rumored Twisted Metal? Not much. I know they're making it. I have a little bit of insight, but nothing I can share. And it's not much I could share even if I could, or I would share even if I could. Okay. Sony Bend. You saw this the other day. John Garvin, our buddy of the show, friend of the show. Johnny Garvin said, hey man, you take your damn hands off her. He said, that a meaningful percentage of the negative reviews that hurt the sales of Days Gone was from woke reviewers and bugs and something else. But it was and reviewers that didn't like having a gruff white dude as a hero that was talking sexy with his wife or fiance or whatever. Okay. And you know, we talked about it, Bly. It's old news at this point. But then Sony Bend felt the need to go out on Friday, I think it was, and issue a statement. Sony Bend, this is from VGC, but it's all over the place. Sony Bend distances itself from Days Gone director's woke reviewers' comments. They put out a statement. This was dumb. This is dumb. They say, we are aware of the comments made by our previous creative director on Days Gone regarding his personal view on the critical reception of our intellectual property. That's an intentionally stab in the back, our intellectual property. It's like, it's not yours, John. You get it. It's ours. As much as you think you deserve it, as much as you put your heart and soul into it, fuck you, it's ours. We paid for it, which is true. But this probably went through PR 20 times, I guarantee you. Anyway, regarding his personal view on the critical reception of our intellectual property, Bend Studio does not share his sentiment, nor does it reflect the views of our team. Our studio is immensely proud of the work we accomplished on Days Gone and are thankful to every developer who poured their heart and soul into it. We are incredibly humbled by the support of our Days Gone community, and we will continue to share your enthusiasm for our world and characters as we look towards the future. Bleh. Bleh. Again, this is just... I just... Here's why I hate it.
Great fighting! You're an up-and-coming boxer.
I don't have a problem if Ben Studios disagrees with John Garvin. Fine. I mean, there are a lot of people there. They took a poll, but ultimately, let's say it was 100% disagree with him. Fine. But a statement like this is just so, we're going to take the high road, but we're still going to push back. And it's just like, fuck you guys. Let me tell you something about working at Sony. Let me tell you something about working at Sony, at least back in my Sony time. Okay. What made, and I'm not saying Sony's not great now. It is.
Great
But
fighting! You're an up-and-coming boxer.
what made Sony so great back when I worked there was they, and I get they can't afford to do this like they did back then. But back then, and John Garvin and Jeff Ross are part of that time. The people who were getting green lights and directing games and designing games at that level were people who were insanely passionate for the game. And it doesn't mean that the God of War Ragnarok team or the new Days Gone team, whatever they're doing, is not insanely passionate. But there's a lot more cooks in the kitchen now, as there should be when you're spending that kind of money. And John Garvin bled for his shit. He bled for Siphon, for Golden Abyss, for Days Gone. These are his children. It doesn't mean he thinks he owns the intellectual property, but they are emotionally his children. And allow the man who birthed this and put it on his back and carried it with Jeff Ross along with the team up a fucking huge hill, and then got, for right or wrong, unceremoniously kicked out of the organization that he had basically was a critical part of making. Allow the man to have his opinion, Ben, without coming out and making some snotty, snooty bullshit comment. You didn't need to say anything. What you should have said was, thank you, John. We are not here without you. We understand that time marches on. It's a different time. Maybe you don't fit in this kind of development anymore. You fit in a different kind of development. Fine. But what it should be was, thanks, John. That's it. That's what he deserves from them. That's what I think. That's what I think. Brett Moore says, so you think Sony Ben should have just kept their mouths shut? Well, I do, because what's the point of this? Nobody thought everybody at Ben's studio agreed with John. All right, Doug, I would love to, buddy. Absolutely. Send me a text. Or you already sent me one. Okay, cool. Not everybody has to agree with John. I don't agree with John on everything. But when it comes to this, what, Ben Studio, you're basically what Ben Studio is saying is this. They're saying, number one, we released a game that was full of bugs, but that's not what hurt in reviews. Not true. Not true. Fuck you. That's a lie. If you think Ben Studio didn't get hammered in review scores and Metacritic because of the bugs of that game when it launched on PS4, you're a fucking moron. Okay, so first off, fuck you, Ben, because that's a lie. Number two is related to number three. You're never going to be sure what percentage of the score got watered down because there were people who didn't like, which is their right, the sort of woke, anti-woke, whatever it is, sentiment in that game. Okay? We're never going to know really what that was unless you went to those reviewers that specifically called that out and said how much of that affected your score. So at that point, for Ben to say, nope, we don't think any of the reviews, which is all John was saying, which affected sales, had anything to do with a low review score or a lower review score than we would have gotten if we had been more traditionally woke. And I'm saying this as a crazy fucking progressive. Okay. So I just think this is a really mean-spirited, shitty statement from Ben Studio. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm fucking saying. Did I get these super chats? If not, let me get them real quick and then we will move on. D-Truck says, talking about Johnny Garvin, he says he wasn't wrong. Thank you for the super chat, buddy. He says he wasn't wrong. What a bunch of cowards. I mean, I'm not saying that about all of the people at Ben Studio. That's ridiculous. But whoever at Ben Studio thought this was a good idea and whoever at PR said, hey, we're down with this, let us help you on the language, I agree with you. They're a bunch of cowards. Dream Quarter, thank you for the super chat, buddy. He drops a super chat with just a little avatar winking at me like, you winky. Come on now. Okay. Bacon Magma got banned from Wings of Redemption stream. That's the best ever. Okay. Yeah, Legend says Ben was playing it safe. Yep. People need to understand, says Dream Corridor, that not every single Sony published narrative-driven third-person action-adventure game with light stealth mechanics needs to be a hit. Sometimes you don't sell 15 million. No. And let's be clear. The game had flaws that affected its sales that were not in Garvin's tweet to the guy who asked about sales. One of them is a big one was zombie overload. People were sick of it, especially coming off fucking Last of Us, which really kind of, whatever you think of that game, the vast majority of the world thinks it's one of the best games ever made. Come on now. King of the North says, put in Wings Redemption in Jaffe Mania. I will if he wants to be in. Will he come on the show and play it? Let me know. I've never met him or talked to him. Okay. I love Jon Snow. I love Days Gone. I thought it was poorly paced at parts and it went on way too long, but I thought it was great. Okay. People now let's beat up on Microsoft a little bit. I'm telling you guys, just please. I try so hard to be genuine and honest. That doesn't mean I'm always right. It doesn't mean my takes aren't always good or bad, but I'm not out here doing shtick. Okay. I love the medium. Okay. So just remember, if you're upset with me, because some people are, for, button heads with Sony for a little bit. Hang on. Alexa's telling me to order trash bags. I should do that. Just remember that I'm about to pick on Xbox a little bit, and I love Xbox. Okay, I got the trash bags, Alexa. Leave me the fuck alone. Why does she have to do it twice? Shut the fuck up. Okay. Xbox addresses lack of Game Awards reveals. We know this. We know that, and I didn't even think about it. But people are right. The Game Awards, Nintendo was there in a good way. Sony was there in fucking force. Not only did they win a shit ton of awards, but they revealed, they weren't massive reveals, but they were reveals. There was Final Fantasy, there was a date, there was PC version of Returnal. There was one other thing they put out. I forget what it was, but Sony had a good night of showing shit. Nintendo did as well, but Xbox was like, where are you fucking guys? And whether or not it was, based on, I don't see how it was, there, you could argue that they didn't want to show trailers for Starfield or Redfield because the FTC were like, hey, you guys said those weren't exclusive, even though the European Union Commission said, no, you're pretty much lying, FTC. Maybe that holds some water, but I think, what did I say? I said Redfall, right? Redfield, whatever. You know what I'm talking about. But I think what Ryan McCaffrey, is that how you say his name? McCaffrey. Ryan McCaffrey. He's always off talking about Lucky Charms. He says he works over at IGN. I think he's the editor over there. And I want to tell you what he said. 1 second. He wrote a great editorial at IGN. I'm just going to read you some of the choice bits. You keep saying Starfield and Redfield. Dream Quarter, you have to understand, my brain, when I do this show, there's so much data that I prepare and then just forget after the show's done, right? Because I got to talk for anywhere from 1.5 to 3 hours about this stuff. And I listen back to the show sometimes. I'm like, oh, I hope the audience knows what I meant then. Because of course I know it's called Redfall and Starfield. Adversary 1 says McCaffrey is always trying to get away with the Lucky Charms. Indeed. He says this. He says, it's a bad sign when there were more Muppets at the Game Awards than Xbox world premieres. As someone who's been playing and covering Xbox for 20 years, I'm not sure I've ever been more baffled by the console maker's decision making. This is all right. I'm just reading you some of his stuff. I tweeted my frustration as soon as the industry's glitziest event of the year came to its awkward end. And if the hundreds of responses to that tweet told me anything, it's that my take was no hot take. How could it be? Microsoft literally showed nothing for the year to come, despite promising us a huge 2023 last summer at their Xbox showcase. They said Xbox fans suffered through an exceptionally dry year. He shouts out Pentiment, short of that though. I guess Grounded too. And also had to watch PlayStation exclusives delight PS5 owners at the Game Awards all night long. From Forspoken to Final Fantasy 16 to Death Stranding 2. Then to add one more kick in the groin, he says, Xbox players watch Sony-backed developers wear out a path to the Game Awards stage to accept award after award for the fantastic exclusive games they shipped throughout 2022. He says the FTC wouldn't care if Microsoft showed off release date trailers. I don't know if that's true for Redfall and Starfield. These games are from studios they've owned or acquired without so much as a twitch of concern from any country's regulatory body. Well, again, maybe he wrote this before the comment came out from the EU calling the FTC liars, but still. He says Team Green looked now this is where we get this is where we get to it. This is where he calls them out, and I hope Phil Spencer reads this. I mean, it's not like Phil Spencer doesn't know this, but what is happening? Team Green looked every bit the third place console maker it is, despite having acquired literally dozens of new studios to produce exclusive games for them over the past 5 years. Where the hell are the games? Asked McCaffrey. If they're being saved for Microsoft's own event, that's great, but how is that bringing new people into the tent? That's just preaching to the choir. The Game Awards allows you to reach an audience who isn't already listening to you, of millions. And that's precisely who Microsoft needs to get the attention of. Here we go. If we take a look back at the Phil Spencer era of Xbox, it's pretty ballsy for a journalist to say. I'm happy a journalist said this and just not a YouTuber like me. This part. If we take a look back at the Phil Spencer era of Xbox, which is finishing up its 9th year at this point, I honestly think he deserves an A+ almost across the board. I agree. 100%. He goes on to talk about the S and the X and the supply chain and Game Pass. Absolutely. I'm a huge Phil Spencer fan. But I also agree very much with this last line. But from the perspective of the major exclusives Xbox has shipped in those 9 years, Spencer gets a D at best, and he's dangerously close to flunking at this point. Yep. Final paragraph. As 2022 draws to a close, allow me to draw you a meme with words. Xbox players are Charlie Brown, Microsoft is Lucy, and the promise of big exclusives is the football. Yes, the pandemic affected timelines. Yes, Russia's invasion of Ukraine has directly impacted multiple Xbox exclusives. And yes, shipping games too early would be the wrong move. But the fact remains that Xbox now proudly counts 23 studios in its first-party portfolio. That this year is ending with exactly 0 AAA efforts coming out of Xbox Game Studios was tough enough to stomach. But for Xbox to show up to the Game Awards empty-handed, as millions of gamers looked on, is unforgivable. Microsoft, the last sentence, Microsoft is close to being out of goodwill with its audience. Any hope of the company has of winning back the mindshare it lost amidst the rash of mistakes during Xbox One era is rapidly slipping through its fingers with no one to blame but itself. So look, 100%, everything that he writes in here, I think he's absolutely, other than the FTC part, is absolutely spot on. The fact, Zaf says McCaffrey is a diehard Xbox fan and host of an Xbox podcast. He is in the best position to say something that will have weight, right? I mean, that's the thing. And again, I mean, trust me, it's not like Phil Spencer. I mean, can you imagine if this man is living in a bubble and doesn't know that shit's rotten? Oh, I know. Frank Kent says you said it 2 years ago, Jaffe. I know I did. But I'm me and he's him, and, you know, he's a more respectable chap. I don't know. But when you've got a guy who's this invested in keeping a good relationship with Microsoft, and this is what he writes, he's not wrong. In respect to McCaffrey, he's absolutely not wrong. And I keep holding out hope because the Microsoft execs are doing so many things that are right, and they seem to be letting go of certain key people. Alexa, stop. Key people at 343. And, you know, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I don't care. I own my Xbox. I love it. But, you know, I don't know how much longer they can just keep being themselves, you know? Reviews are saying PS5 and Series X Witcher is as bad as Cyberpunk crashes. Really? I didn't know that. That's interesting, wise guy. Bethesda for the hype and Activision Blizzard in the business of pumping out games, says Legends. Yeah, I mean, hopefully that will happen. Hopefully that will help, but they should still be able to do it on their fucking own. Okay, Abel says people are misreading the EU statement. Well, that is a useless comment. How am I misleading it? Right? I mean, I'll go back to it at the end of the show, but how am I misreading it? I simply read the quote. Okay. Xbox, just so you know, here's some good Xbox news. Some cool stuff coming to Game Pass. We were talking about this streaming last night. We were playing some Call of Duty in the Discord, and I was like, oh, I think the Riot games are coming to Game Pass. And I think it was Spaz or somebody saying, well, who cares? They're free anyway. Well, they're coming to Game Pass. It's cool because, you know, you can launch it from your console without having to do all the hoops and shit. I don't fucking know. I've never played any of these games except League, and I hate it because I suck at it. But they are also offering, as these games come, a bunch of stuff if you are an Xbox Game Pass member. So just to take Valoran, I won't read you all the details. All current agents are free. Access to every new agent as soon as they're released is free. 20% match XP boost given to Battle Pass, Event Pass, and active agent contract progress. So all of the games, League of Legends, Teamfight Tactics, Legend of Runeterra, I assume they're fighting game as well when that comes out. You know, we'll give you goodies like that. But that's on Game Pass right now. High on Life is on Game Pass, which is the Rick and Morty writer doing it. I guess it unlocks in a couple hours. The reviews are kind of mixed so far. There are not a lot of them out there yet. Xbox Era gave it a 90 and said it's absolutely fantastic. Destructoid gave it a 55 and says, I appreciate what the developer's doing, but Trover Saves the Universe, their previous game, was a much better distillation of Roland and company's humor. And then, But Why Though, which is the lowest. Oh, well, here Eurogamer says it's a miserable cocktail of ideas from other action platformers and the worst parts of Rick and Morty. Right. So I don't know if I don't know how some, and then it's a 77 on the PC, but that only also has 6 reviews right now. So we'll see where that goes. The one I'm excited about came out a couple weeks ago. I didn't even think about it. Didn't even know about it. Chained Echoes is at a 94 Metacritic, a 9.3 user score. Apparently, this is the spiritual successor to Chrono Trigger. They're saying it's it's turn-based RPG, it's pixel, all that shit. It's like this old Square game. But apparently, it's fucking awesome. And so I had no idea this was even a thing. I don't know. I didn't even know it was on Game Pass, let alone a game. But I am very jazzed for this. I'm gonna start playing this in the next week or so. But yeah, 94 Metacritic, 93 user score. All that's on Game Pass. So let me show you some. I guess there's let's see, trailers, details. I'll just show you what it looks like. It's not for everyone. I get that everybody doesn't like, or not everybody likes these kinds of games, but people who do, apparently they're saying it's the knees beeses, fellas. I'll just put this on when we talk. Well, it's 30 personal reviews, Lando, and 4 professional reviews. It is what it is, you know. I'm sure it'll get more. So this is, I'm turning the volume off, but this is, like I said, they say it's a Chrono Trigger spiritual successor. If you love those games, which I do, looks fucking great. So I'm happy to see the reviews be real strong on this one. So this is Chained Echoes. It's out now on Game Pass. You can also get it on Switch and other things. Yes, Ravenos, it looks like an RPG Maker game. Yes, not everybody has to have games that look like they were shat out by ILM. Sometimes there are those of us who like games just because we love games, and they don't all have to look like next gen. But for you, clearly, it's not for you, and I appreciate that. Okay. Hang on. That game, Chained Echoes, was made by one guy. Is that true? Holy shit. Fellas, that's Gabbing and Games for 12. I will be back tomorrow with another Gabbing and Games, or tomorrow I might do a weird story stream. Whether or not I do, I'll be back tomorrow. They're doing a stream for sure. By the way, if you're wondering, wait, I thought members get the second half or whatever. A couple times a week, we're doing the show that way. So 2 or 3 times a week, you'll get a show that the second half is just for members, but not every time, just depending on the amount of news we have and things like that. I may be streaming some Call of Duty tonight. Don't forget, if you are interested in being in our Sacred Symbols competition or the last media standing competition with Call of Duty. It is either going to be Friday at 6 California time or Monday at 6. So far, it sounds like the 2 players I've talked to that are in are okay with Friday. So it's looking like Friday, but let me know if you're one of the members that want to play. AJC says, don't forget to buy the trash bags. That's right. Rocker Matt, I don't know if I saw your chat. Let me check real quick. When did you send it? Do you go by a different name over there, Rocker Matt? All right, fellas. Great to talk to you. Great to hang out with you. Thank you so much. I very much appreciate it. Thank you for the super chats, the memberships, the company. Be well, be safe. Happy fucking holidays. I'll see you soon.